Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our virtual fishbowl event. It's great to have you all here, and thanks once again for accepting this invitation and being here. And today we are diving into a fascinating and a timely topic, as you just highlighted, which is redefining customer engagement through next-gen experiences. And I believe it's a subject how brands or enterprises connect with customers and in ways we couldn't have imagined maybe just a few years ago, right? And currently we are living in a time where customer expectation are changing rapidly. It's a day by day, and customers today, they don't just want a seamless and a intuitive experience, but they are looking for interactions that feel intelligent, personalized, or connected across almost all the channels, right? And we see that this excitement, or I would say the exciting changes which is happening across, it is driven by various technologies, be it artificial intelligence or Paul, you spoke about the immersive commerce, the omnichannel strategies, and also the current conversational platforms, and all of these are not just buzzwords anymore, and we are seeing that being implemented, right? And they have become a critical tools for companies like yourself and many across the globe who are looking to stand out, grow, and they're trying to better engage with their customers. And but of course, like one more thing, what we're observing is when we spoke to leaders across enterprises, these things come with challenges. So we are seeing that the integrating these cutting edge technologies, which, what I just highlighted, there are challenges. There are challenges with respect to managing scattered data, whether it maintaining the customer trust, and even the way you highlighted, developing the right skill internally. I think these are real issues, and many organizations across the globe are grappling with this every day, right? And today, I'm happy that we have an incredible lineup of leaders who explores, through whom actually I would like to explore some of these topics, right? And I would like to welcome Sumita Datta for our conversation, who's a CIO for downstream customer operations at Shell. We do have Paul Cobby, who's a former CIO at John Lewis, and he comes with a experience across industry segments from banking to aviation, and he brings a extensive experience from leading customer-focused digital transformation in from retail to aviation to banking and across, right? And we do have Daljit Kukreja, who's a group director at Walmart Global Tech, and she comes from the enabling all this technology through their developers and helping that retailer to be a leading digital or a great customer experience provider. And but last but not least, we have Rajaram Radhakrishnan, CEO at Siklam, and he sits in a vintage point through which working across industries, across enterprises, and helping them innovate and accelerate their digital journey, right? With this, over next maybe 30 to 40 minutes, what we would like to discuss is four major aspects. One, how customer experience is being disrupted. Second, how I would say, AI is impacting or influencing this customer engagement, this particular value chain. Third, what are the practical challenges and how enterprises are preparing to tackle them? And the fourth important is how collaboration across this broader ecosystem is driving the meaningful change in this particular aspect. So with this, I would like to jump into the discussion. Thanks once again. And I would like to start with Smita, you want to understand how do you define and experience the next gen customer engagement within the industry that you're playing?
Customer experience, right?
Yes. Yes.
So where I see myself today, my customers, I have two kinds. One is the B2B customer, one is the B2C customer. So when I say B2B, it will be the big lubricants, for example, as a product or a chemicals product customer. It could be one of the fuel customers that, say, for example, an airlines that gets fuel from us. It could be PNG or the likes of an FMCG firm that actually gets, several chemicals for us for their products further down the supply chain. Or if I say B2C, it could be someone who's buying gas in a petrol station.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For the two segments of customers, the experience today is that for the B2B customers, still very traditional. They expect acknowledgement of anything that they would have sent through. A lot of the customers, we expect non-touchless interaction. So
Mm-hmm.
your SAP system speaking to another SAP system. And a lot is with auditability, a lot is with traceability, a lot is with monitoring if the touchless processes are working. If it
Okay.
doesn't and if it breaks, then it will trigger off some email correspondence. Primarily, we see traditional email still being used to quite an extent. This is on the customer experience side. That is their
Okay.
preference, right? Um, if I move to the for the channel operations, so primarily touchless, and on the touch channel, it will primarily be emails. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if I try to actually move to the B2C side, the behavior is again very different. It is a largely um, phone call based. I'm talking about a global behavior. You are
Okay.
talking about Asian markets, you're talking about European markets, American markets. The behavior pattern is different, but you do
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of um, touch operations rather than anything that will be self-help. There are still there's still there is a trend in which people are okay to interact with a bot, but if
Mm-hmm.
for example, the customer loyalty points are missing, they want someone to tell them that it will be there at some point, or someone has detected and has a complaint about missing items, then they would want to verify that with a human agent. That's the kind of traditional behavior that we still see, and it may be
Okay.
because of the segment that we operate in. However, there is a growing trend for customers to get seamless end-to-end interaction in certain countries,
Okay.
or depends on the product type that you're using. So that trend is now changing. The pattern is changing. So for e-commerce solutions or commerce solutions where we can have a touchless end-to-end user experience, they try to even have, say, for example, the end-to-end delivery of their order. They would like to know about it automated. It
Mm-hmm.
is proactive, and they would want to be better in control of the inventory. And so it's a much more on time delivery information and updates that they would want. So it's real time data that they would want
Okay.
as well, right? So, which is a challenge for us. And hence, the expectation, I believe, is significantly higher. The user
Mm-hmm.
experience, because there is a lot of, in my personal life, this is what I'm used to, and I want that
Okay.
in my professional, in my business to business interactions as well. So there is a lot of that we see coming up. But then, there is that customer side of the experience, but my customers also, from an IT perspective, I look after the agents as well, right? So what is their
Mm-hmm.
user experience as well, and that's on the other
Okay.
side. That is so the front of it is the customer experience, the backstage of it is the agent experience that we need to consider as well.
Got your point. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Sumita. Raj, coming to you, want to understand the reason is because you work with the similar various industry segments. Across value chain, how are you seeing this, the customer experience disruption happening? Is there a change? Is it similar? Is there the adoption is at a different levels?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. I'm going to build on to what Smita and Paul mentioned from their own industry vantage point. I get to see from a multiple industry sitting in a services sector. Um, we see, I mean, if I were to distill out to the top, clients like Shell, Walmart, everybody has an interesting conundrum. Customers are not a homogeneous group. There is Gen Z, Gen X, millennials, and then the older group as well. Now, Gen Z is starting to dictate terms because they are 40% of the buying population or the spend. So that's why you hear more about this experience and AI-infused experience. So the conundrum that that what Sumita and Paul presented is there is one group that wants touchless, seamless, leave me alone, I will do things. That's the latest generation. But there is another generation that wants, no, I want to talk to an agent, I want to know what it is. So that's the phenomenon that we see. So now, thankfully, 40% plus is trending towards the later generation, or the buying power is with the Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Zs of the world. So that's why you see more and more infusion of virtual assistant, conversational AI, AI-powered decision making. Because as Sumita mentioned, people are used to a certain things in their daily life, and they want to have that in the office atmosphere. It was not the case 10 years ago. While people wanted it, they resisted change. But now, if you don't have that, employees won't join your organization. Your end customer will not even bother dealing with you. You need to, it has gone beyond, hype. Now experience is the differentiator for the company. So that's how I would paraphrase the broader context. And that's why you hear more and more companies talking, why I want to differentiate in the experience. And probably that's what keeps companies like me in the job now. So.
Perfect. Yeah. Thanks, Raj. Thanks. Daljit, coming to you, want to understand because we spoke about the disruption which is happening in the tech, and from your side, I want to understand. Yes, these are happening, but to support this particular adoption of a journey in a firm like Walmart or any other enterprise, how do you go about it? How do you go about the base of whether it's a software development or how the operations? How do you manage across the software development lifecycle of it and enabling these particular technologies?
Yeah, thank you for that question. That's a really good one because a lot of disruption that we see in customer experience is being supported by developer experience, right? So for us, developers are also customers of the tooling that they use day to day to build this software. And what we are seeing here, going back to what Sumita was saying on traceability, monitoring, auditability, all those are as important in SDLC as for a customer. So, for example, when we talk about like monitoring and traceability, if developers are building software, they are running pipelines, right? And the pipelines are failing. How do we then provide them a way to monitor their pipeline and also utilize different LLMs to understand what's happening in the pipeline, what's happening in the log, so that if there is an error that they need to debug, they don't have to go about it manually. And Gen AI assistant or a conversational assistant actually can utilize the logs, which are pretty large for humans, right? And it takes time for them to understand. LLM can do that quickly in seconds, and they have a solution to their issue or a software bug or a pipeline bug within seconds, right? So to really support the business to build omni experience as well as great customer experience, what these tools do is they actually save time from the mundane tasks, from the time consuming things. Then the developers can then focus on the innovation that will then drive the top line, right, for businesses. So one example that I was talking about on the pipeline side, Walmart Specifically, we built a pipeline experience for developers where they can quickly debug and utilize a conversational GenAI assistant to help not just like debug, but also set up new pipelines when they're building new applications. Now, that has saved tons of time in the past year for our developers. So, in the last earning call, our CEO, Doug, actually explained how some of these tools, Pipeline Visualizer being one of them, some of these tools have helped Walmart developers save 4 million developer hours in last fiscal year. Now that's the time given back to business use cases and great customer experiences for people who are shopping in Walmart and Sam's Club.
Interesting. I think Daljit, talking about we were started with a customer experience and now we have entered into a developer experience. I think how important it is. And because you have started with the AI or the next gen technologies, what you're looking into. Sumita, coming back to you, want to understand, do you see any AI or a next gen led technologies driving some of the use cases specific to the customer experience or anything on the value chain?
Oh, yeah, I see a lot of potential, right? So I don't think any of us are brave enough to say, no, I don't see any impact of AI. It'll not happen. That is, it is definitely one of those inflection points in history where we have to acknowledge that it is a reality. It is going to stay in some shape or form. But I also want to balance it out with the hype around it as well. So there is a lot of potential, but it is at the peak of the hype cycle, right? Before it starts getting a bit more realistic, and how it will stay is how it will evolve over the next 1 year or so. But one thing for sure, whatever or whichever side we land on, things are developing so fast that the picture will become clearer in a much more rapid way than it did in the past. So it is definitely there. How we will use it, right now, we are assessing the potential. For example, I can actually look at the extreme AI case where I live in a world which is inhabited by virtual agents and bots that answer my customer queries and handles 80% of my calls or any interaction that I get with my customer. That is what all the consultants are promising me. But I also need to, I mean, that's one extreme view. And then I have, the third level, which is being augmented by some AI agents and bringing insights and helping the customer agents with some better insights enabled by AI. Why I am still a bit skeptical, and I say that it is a spectrum, and we have to decide what our position in that spectrum is going to be as an organization. And that should be definitely driven by not just technology, but I read this somewhere, and I'm sure you people are aware of this as well, where BCG shares that any AI transformation will be driven 70% through the people and the processes involved to drive that transformation. 20% is with the algorithms and the AI definitions and how you can optimize those algorithms, right? And 10% is the technology. So unless we sort out our processes, sort out the people needed to develop those bots, the people needed to develop AI in a way that it is easy for us to train that bot, right? The way we do the prompts, the way we use the tokens, because technology is very expensive. So for a large, complex organization with lots of legacy systems, it is a massive investment. And hence, we have to be very careful because the scale of change we try to bring in is not just a technology. And the biggest thing with AI is that it is not a one-shot transformation you can do, that you upgrade the system and you replace the system, it starts working from the very next day. There is a lot of effort that takes to build intelligence with the bots. So no one actually will be giving me an off-the-shelf LLM or even an SLM that I can use straight away with minimum configuration and training. So the journey is a long journey rather than, that's the shift. In the past, you replaced a system and an application, and you can get a fantastic user experience, and the uptake is very high. But here, it's a journey, right? You set it up, you spend more to train your bots. It takes a while to deliver that vision that you promised, and
Got
cost
it.
is
Got it.
the own thing. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that perspective. And Raj, coming to you quickly. So, want to understand from your side, what are you seeing on a similar stretch when I say that? Because I heard from Sumita on the specific segment what you're looking into. From a broader perspective, the AI-led use cases, are you seeing that being adopted, implemented?
We are seeing it has gone from experimentation to actual usage as well. Um, there is let's take two sides of the spectrum. Larger enterprises, they have their own data silos and data infrastructure rework to be done. So they are grappling with that problem. What we see is the smaller companies wanting to take on that bigger enterprises through the use of AI and the new tools. So I do see a recognition from the larger enterprises that they can easily be taken over, or the market share will be lost by the smaller players who are coming in fresh and new. So there is awareness, and they are seriously taking this to heart. From an AI use case perspective, right? Paul mentioned about the usage in the retail industry. That's where it has started to go into huge adoption, virtual fitment. Because they all jumped into the e-commerce bandwagon. Now there's so much of return, the cost of return, and the associated write-off is huge. Now, if we can have a virtual fit, if we can have virtual showrooms, I think there is a showroom in London actually that I came across from Burberry, where if you just walk in, it's one of the futuristic store. It's all AI driven. You just go in with the barcode. It will tell you what size will fit you, what size will not fit you. The entire thing turns into a mirror, and then it will show how you will wear, how you look when you walk in the street. So the whole imagination is done as an experience. So the world is moving, far and fast into that area. Even companies like Burberry, Audi, in London as well have picked up those concepts. We see that in the retail sector. We see that in the education sector, where it's all AI prompted studies, AI prompted videos, because the next gen are the kids who are studying. They are all used to these modern tools. You cannot give them a textbook and ask them to read, right? We are ourselves building AR, VR based courses. Just they press the button on that, it will tell how a motor in a car will get fueled, and the whole operation of a car. So things like that are evolving slowly, even all the way up to the kindergarten. So if I look at my book of business, there is a bunch of things that we do for kindergarteners to high schoolers to college in the education sector. So retail education is getting heavily disrupted and heavily attacked by these models. Of course, I can talk about other AI cases as well. What is also happening from an IT infrastructure perspective as well is leaders are starting to realize over the next 2 to 3 years, it's all driven by consumer engagement as well as AI. Unlike other past hyped technologies, AI is here to stay. People have realized AI is here to stay. And with the advances in technologies, they are realizing all this legacy infrastructure may not last long. And with having agentic AI coming in, all this, you may not need a proprietary infrastructure. You have to figure out how you can use the agentic AI plus the advances in technology and your partners to build an ecosystem so that you can quickly put together a robust, secure system that you can run your systems on. So we see that across the ecosystem, it's still in a lot of transition. But as I said, it's a next 2 to 3 year window where the world will be different.
Okay, got it. And coming back to Daljit, so want to understand two aspects of it. One is we spoke about the challenges. The another thing what I want to highlight is the organization readiness to drive this adoption of AI, right? Want to understand what are those things, any particular hurdles, what you see, and how you have overcome, if so.
Yeah. So I would actually double down on what Paul and Sumita were saying before too, right? Like, this is transformational, but it's not one shot. It's not that today you are here and tomorrow you are in a new place, right? And
Mm-hmm.
like any organizational transformation, there is a change management involved. There is training involved, right? So it's not about building the tools, and whether you are giving it to developers, whether you are giving it to store associates or customer service agents. It's also about how they are utilizing it and training them. Plus, I think the most important thing here is that are these extensible platforms for bigger and complex organizations like Walmart, and I'm sure Shell has something similar, is that you can build a tool, but unless you can extend it to multiple use cases, you don't get the ROI kind of, right? So you want to build platforms rather than just building tools. And that
Oh,
is the approach that we have taken. Now, another thing to add here is that for making sure that this transformation happens and we have adoption, we definitely take best of both worlds, right? So we do have a lot of internal knowledge base, a lot of internal data that is very specific to Walmart use cases, and then we have so many good tools which are coming from outside, and also a lot of good LLMs that are coming from vendors as well as from open source. So taking best of both worlds, the internal data and the LLMs coming from outside, fine tuning them where needed to make it something that actually makes sense for certain use cases. Again, like just doing technology for technology's sake is definitely not going to take us anywhere. But once we have a customer use case or a developer experience use case, then we implement this. I think we definitely see adoption very organic, really quick, just word of mouth. But if you try to push through a tool, as you must have experienced in other places also, it's not that easy. So those are
mm,
some of the things that we're taking into account, like really finding the best of breed, really focusing on change management,
oh,
alongside training, alongside making sure that we're bringing the best tools that can extend to multiple use cases.
got it, got it. Yeah, thanks, Ajit. Thank you. And I would love, considering the time, so would like to go around the room just to understand one aspect to succeed in this adoption of AI in improving the experience of the overall customer journey. What is one thing what you believe would should be or like enterprise should consider in this particular journey? I'll start with Sumita and then go around.
I think the biggest thing is there's not one biggest thing. I'll state something which is obvious, which is your
Okay.
fragmented process, right? So how standardized are your processes currently?
Okay.
Your ability to integrate with different systems, your ability to access good quality data. Those are probably are the fundamentals anyway, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think the biggest, I mean, you can get the best technology, you can work on your data to quite an extent, you can pick up very simple processes which are fairly standard for automation, but
Mm-hmm.
you can still fail. And that failure is primarily dependent on the key capability skills that gaps that you have within your organization. Now, when I say capability gaps, it is technical capability. So do we have, for example, architects with enough insights and knowledge to define an architecture that is going to support your AI vision of the future, right? And it is different. It is not your traditional way how you would approach it. Your data flows. Do you have clarity on how you're going to manage, how you would delineate and de-risk your data layer so that you have access to the best data real time, right? When you are special, they say, for example, very very simple. Now, like if I'm in the logistics supply chain business and I need to then make sure my clients or customers get updated information on when they can expect their goods or products to arrive, I am dependent on some third party contractors, etc. So my updated delivery timings is dependent on the data flow that happens between me and my ecosystem partners.
Okay, got
Right?
it.
So that there has to be that kind of a shift and access that you need to work more closely and in close collaboration with people who
Okay.
are in that transformation or end-to-end value chain for yourself, right? So, but then going back to the original thing that I mentioned previously, it's ultimately driven by the people having the skills, having the capabilities, and having enough digital literacy in your organization to lift it up to that level
Great,
and
great.
deliver that vision.
I take that, Sumit. I think that the people process of a 70%, algorithm of a you spoke of algorithm is a 20% and the 10%.
20%,
I
yeah.
think that is, yeah, that is a, I would say, a good scale to measure. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Daljit?
Yeah, I think people process data very, very important, right? If I have to
Mhm.
add one other thing that's super important for success is uh, faster experimentation. I think we need to
Okay.
enable the technology teams to iterate on customer experience, experiment with new things that are coming up because this industry is evolving. When I say this industry is really the generative AI and the capabilities that are coming up, it's evolving super fast. So the faster the teams can experiment with new technology and see if they are solving for customer experience use cases, I think the better they will have a way to fail fast and actually be successful. So that would be my fourth thing after people process and data.
Perfect. Perfect, Daljit. Yeah. Thank you. Raj?
I think my colleagues in the meeting have already said all the key points. I'm going to go back to the biggest disruption is
Uh,
happening in the experience layer of the value chain. Now, if
hmm.
you so while the backend systems are very important, but the competitive differentiation is now going to hinge on how AI shows up for your customers. How fast
Okay.
it helps, how personal it feels to them, how much trust it builds, how secure it is. I think we have so many plug and play AI tools that are accelerating the shift. So the successful cases that I'm seeing is organizations that have a targeted user-centric approach,
Mm-hmm.
prioritizing where AI really adds clear value without friction. I think that's
Okay.
essentially, have user experience as your front and center and design. Don't use technology to push the change, but user experience and then bring technology into it is how I see this change becoming successful.
Perfect.
So
Perfect, Raj. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I think it perfectly sums up. We spoke about the people process, the data, and how important it is to educate. And we also touched upon the fast experimentation. And at the end, the way Raj you summed it up, saying that it is not the technology first; it should be user first and technology enabled. I think that sums up quite well. And thanks a lot once again for all of you to take out time and be part of this session. Thanks a lot. It's been valuable, at least for me, to get to hear from this diverse perspective across different industries and their experiences. I think that is really great, and that's something which stood out for me. And once again, appreciate your time and thank you, and wishing you all a continued, I would say, a great day ahead and a continued success for your transformation journey. Thank you. Thanks a lot.